Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Oh, happy Monday. Happy Music Monday. It's Music Monday, so I'm wearing a Misfits t-shirt. And I hope y'all like it. The show. I mean, I guess it's cool if you like my shirt too, but if you don't like my shirt, you don't like my shirt. That's I was speaking more of the show. I hope you like the Music Monday show that we're about to have. My audio's way too loud. All right. I switched the gain because they told me to, and maybe that was the wrong decision. How is it now? Is it back to normal now? Is this better? The gain's really sensitive on this mic, but I was tinkering with it. And it told me that I should change that, so I did. And now you guys are saying it's way too loud. All right, here, let's see if there's maybe a happy medium where we got a little bit. How is it now? Is this like the perfect? Whoa, hey, and a lot of you guys are liking the shirt. Thank you very much. The Misfits are getting some love. All right, so this is kind of cool. All right, great. All right, good. So the gain's really sensitive. That's our lesson here, which is something I already knew, but they said if you start in the middle, you can kind of... So it looks like we just need like a little tiny bit. Little tiny bit. Like maybe that much. All right. Mr. Gon, that's very kind of you to say. Good morning, everybody. All right, and we are already over 30, and my cat is meowing because she wants her mom to get up. That's what my cat wants. That's what my cat wants. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening. You get it. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys send me articles, you send me ideas. That's how we build the show. I'm getting my news for the first time because I'm just kind of getting up, and so are you guys. Yeah, that's how we're doing this. And I did check the Reddit. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to everyone today, but we're going to get to as much stuff as we can. There was a lot in there, which is awesome. That makes me feel so freaking good. And we're going to get to as much cool stuff as we can. And, of course, we're going to start out with music. Because it's Music Monday, I'm wearing a Misfits t-shirt. Some of you guys have been giving shout-outs to the Misfits. What I have to do, if we hit 138 today, which we might, we've been at about the 150 range during this show. So when we hit 138, someone needs to let me know, and I need to be looking at it because I got to go, we are 138! We are 138! So I got to do that if we hit 138. And I should do that anytime we hit 138, not just when I'm wearing this t-shirt. Which, by the way, I think... I have a theory. I don't know if it's right or not, but I think that if you're a punk rocker and you're over 30, you just own a Misfits t-shirt. It just shows up there at some point. Like, you just own one. There's nothing you can do about it. You own one. You own one. You just own a Misfits t-shirt. Quick shout out, Steve. We're coming to Eastern PA in June. Dates have not been confirmed yet, but we're going to be there in June. And when I say we, I mean me and Graham Elwood. We're going to be doing a stand-up show in Philadelphia. We're working out the details, but we will see you in June. All right, so moving on up. This is a suggestion from Edwin. I'll give a quick suggestion because I really like these guys. And here's a band called Snail Mail. And they are, oh man, the margins are just a little too high. Check that out. Here, let me see if I can fix that in real time. There we go. Yeah. All right. This is a band called Snail Mail. They're a newer band. They formed in 2015. And their new LP is out now. They're on Matador Records. They're touring. They have, musically, they kind of have a Dinosaur Jr.-esque type sound in the guitars, but it's female-fronted. So the way I kind of summed it up, it's like Dinosaur Jr. meets Pavement meets Slater-Kinney. That was how I kind of summed up their sound. But they have like a new twist on it, so they're not derivative of any of those bands. I really dig them so far, and I've just heard about them this morning. I'd heard the name. Lindsay Jordan, that's the front person, and she's very young, and they're very new, and that's very cool. There's a lot of really cool female-fronted projects out there right now that are also really young and kicking ass. The Regrets are another band like that. They're an all-female band that I don't even know if they're out of high school yet. They're crazy young, and they're making really good rock and roll music. This is for another entrance. Of course, there's Laura Ruth Ward, who is a little older, right? She's in her 20s, still very young, but older than a teenager. She's kicking ass and taking names. I really feel like in a lot of ways we are amidst like a new kind of Riot Girl-esque movement. To my knowledge, it's not going by that name the way it did in the 90s, but I think a similar thing's happening where there's just a lot of really awesome female-dominant punk rock going on right now, and that's really cool to see. And Snail Mail is part of that. I recommend checking them out. And that website, once again, is just, let's see, snailmail.band. Make it easy on you. Snailmail.band. And one of the things I wanted to bring up, so I've been having a really good, had a really good find earlier this week. And by earlier this week, oh man, there's some stream issues. All right, let's see. All right, I think we're back now. All right, cool, we're back. Sorry about the stream issue there, guys. We lost some people. I hope they come back. But apparently we were having some stream issues. I apologize for that. Net neutrality, we frickin' need it. Anyway, yesterday I went to a flea market, and I really got... oh, really? All right, it came back up. All right, so, well, anyway, the name of that band, again, is Snail Mail. Snailmail.band. You can check them out. They're really good. Yesterday I went to a flea market, and I had a lot of really, really good finds. I got... Rubber Soul on vinyl, the Beatles Rubber Soul on vinyl at a pretty good price, and it was a vintage one, so it was older, which was just a pretty cool thing to own. I spun it; it spins pretty good, and then I got a couple other albums. I got Elton John, "Don't Shoot Me, I'm a Piano Player," another older copy. I got the Best of Jethro Tull, which is just one of their many, many greatest hits collections. But it's a collection I've always really enjoyed. I had owned it on CD for years and years. I have no idea where that CD is, so I was happy to buy it on vinyl, and it was only $3. And I also got a Talking Heads LP. So it was a really good find, and all that was, I think, $24 total. So I really won out there. And one thing I did not realize, fun note, is that Rubber Soul, my favorite song and my least favorite Beatles song, is on the same album. I did not know that. I never ever knew that. Because, like Beatles, I'm fairly fluent in the Beatles catalog. I'm not, as good as some, but I'm pretty good on the Beatles catalog. I took a class about them in college where I really had to dive into it, which was a great task to do. But as far as what's on what album, I'll kind of get a little things will get a little fuzzy if it's not like Abbey Road or Sgt. Pepper's, and but so I didn't realize that arguably my favorite Beatles song in my life is on Rubber Soul, and I didn't realize this, but my least favorite Beatles song is also on Rubber Soul. I'll throw it over to you guys. First of all, I want to know, has anyone had a similar experience where you had some good finds vinyl shopping recently, or CD shopping? I don't discriminate against the mediums. But does anyone want to take a guess as to what my least favorite Beatles song is that I'm referring to? It's on Rubber Soul. There's your hint. And when I say least favorite, I don't hate the song. I just don't enjoy the song. And for the Beatles, it's song I don't really care about. In My Life's one of my favorite Beatles songs. Arguably my favorite. I love that song. I think it's such a beautiful song. But does anyone want to take a guess which one is my least favorite? No, it's not Revolution 9. What Talking Heads LP? I forget which Talking Heads it was, actually. It's over in the corner there. I guess I can run and check real quick. In fact, yeah, I think I will. Give me 1 second. Lucy, I'm looking at an album. Little Creatures. Little Creatures. Oh, and yes, it is a Paul song that I'm referring to. I'll give you guys a few more minutes to guess it. And in the meantime, I'll see what else you guys are saying. Yeah, Little Creatures was the Talking Heads album I got. Tim, I'm insanely jealous. You got to have lunch with David Byrne a few years back. What was he like? What did he eat? Did he, man, what did he talk about? That would be an interesting guy to, I think when Mark Maron had David Byrne on his podcast, he kind of sums it up. He's just like, everything David Byrne does, he just does it so David Byrne-esque. Like, it's like he's always, everything is choreographed. Like, he's just naturally that way. And I've never met the guy, so I don't know if that's true or not, but I would assume it is. You know what I mean? Baby, You Can Drive My Car. No, that is not correct. It is not Baby, You Can Drive My Car. I like that song. Sam, my dog is looking for your cat. She's right here. And she looks like she might jump. So we might get to see her soon. She might take a jump on my lap here. We'll see. You can jump on my lap if you want. Everybody loves you, Lucy. Oh, Marcia got it. Marcia got it. It is Michelle. I find that song annoying. Michelle is such an annoying song. And it really is out of place on that side A of Rubber Soul, in my humble opinion. I just don't think it fits in there at all. And it's, yeah, I just find it an annoying, off-putting song. It sounds kind of contrived, kind of forced. It's from that cheesy side of Paul's catalog. And I guess something is on fire or something. Can you guys hear that? I feel like I know sometimes sometimes when there's sirens, it bleeds into here in the wild and wonderful Southern California. So she's not sure if she wants to sit on my lap or not. There she goes. Well, you got to say hi. Hey guys, I too agree. Michelle is out of place. So I actually don't know what her favorite Beatles song is. I think she just likes it when a record's on in general. Whenever I'm spinning a record, Lucy likes to go, and she likes to just kind of look at it. She likes to watch it, and she never bats at it, which is really cool. Like she doesn't misbehave or mess up, the record. She just looks at it, but she really digs that. She just kind of looks at it. So she just likes records. She's a vinyl loving cat. But yeah, Michelle, I don't get Michelle. I don't. What are you gonna do? And in my life, arguably my favorite Beatles song. And Watson says it's Paul's Yellow Submarine. I feel like Paul has more than one kind of like guilty pleasure pop song in his catalog. I mean, he always, like 64 is Paul. A lot of those kind of more like kind of Showtimey cheesy Beatles tunes, those are dominantly Paul songs. And John called him out for it at one point. At one point, John was like, Paul makes sure that the grannies still like us. That's something that John said about Paul. And it really hurt Paul's feelings because Paul took John's opinion very, very seriously. So when John said that, it really hurt Paul. Because even though they were only a couple years apart in age, Paul always really looked up to John an awful lot. Because keep in mind, they were so young when they started that that difference in age was actually a big deal. And that's why, like, George would always make comments where Paul made it out like Paul was so much the elder to George because they go back so far. But in reality, they are only 9 months apart. George and Paul, I believe, were only 9 months apart. But George said Paul would act like he was such the elder to George. But yeah, and then later at one point, John said, and this was like later on, I think getting closer to the Sgt. Pepper's eras, where John said that his songs were, that Paul's songs were better than John's songs, and that compliment, meant the world and then some to Paul McCartney. So, anyone had any good finds? And is the stream still acting up on everybody? It looks like some people are still having some issues with the stream today, which makes me very sad. Celeste, thank you for the shirt compliments. This was actually a present from my fiance. And I also have that theory that any punk rocker over 30 just kind of owns a Misfits shirt. It just sort of, it appears, or it's a gift at some point. It just happens. All right. So it looks like the stream's good. Sorry we're having a couple hiccups this morning. Net neutrality. It's good. We need it. All right. So let's go into... since we started off with a Music Monday, there is one sort of show businessy type thing I wanted to talk about first. So we'll go there first. Oh, and I love it when ads play automatically. Nothing annoys me more. You guys know that. But here's something that happened. Christian Bale refers to McConnell and Cheney as charisma-free a-holes. If you haven't seen the movie Vice, I recommend it. I saw it this weekend. I enjoyed it very much. And I tweeted about it. I said I'm going to see Vice because just like Tim Burton, I too like movies that focus on the villains. Tim Burton always likes to focus on the villain, and Vice, of course, is about Dick Cheney. And you will walk into that movie going, I know that Dick Cheney's an evil piece of shit. You will leave that movie going, wow, Dick Cheney is an evil piece of shit. But the cinematic decisions they made I thought was really cool. They took some poetic license in different segments. I thought they were really creative about it. I enjoyed the movie. My one criticism, and a couple people shared this, I feel like it could have been 10 minutes shorter. I thought it was a little long, and they could have condensed it a little bit, but I thought they did a good job telling the story. And also, before we get to the article, I do have to say something real quick here. Some of you guys may remember a while back, and I forget exactly how this came up, but I mentioned that I don't enjoy Will Ferrell. I understand that it's me. People love the guy, and all power to them, and that's fine. But me personal, I've just never gotten Will Ferrell. I've never enjoyed him in anything. I find him off-putting as an actor. I just don't get it. Comedy's a subjective thing. That's something I don't get. And for a long time, I felt like I was the only one. Whenever I would bring that up, people would look at me like I was crazy. And then when I released that clip, a lot of people in the comments were like, actually, yeah. So I found out I'm not alone. But when I said that word never found anything with Will Ferrell appealing at all, I have to retract that as of now, Guess who is one of the producers of Vice? Will Ferrell. So there you go. I got to retract it now. He did a great job as a producer on that movie. Because I really dug that movie a lot. I thought the cast was excellent. I thought Steve Carell did an amazing job playing Don Rumsfeld. I thought that Christian Bale was phenomenal as Dick Cheney. Christian Bale's really good at playing a freaking psycho. I mean, he was in American Psycho. So he's really good at playing the psycho. Christian Bale nails that. And Nail was no exception. He did. The costuming was incredible because they made those guys, Steve Carell, Christian Bale, even Amy Adams, who was playing Dick Cheney's wife, they made them look older and younger as needed. Because all those actors are younger than the people they were playing in the present day. However, they're, older than they were when they started. They're kind of right in the middle. So they did a really good job on both ends of it. Like, it was just so amazing seeing that, where it's like, I know that's Steve Carell, but that's totally Don Rumsfeld right now to me. They nailed it on the costuming. And it's so crazy when you watch that movie, and then we'll get into the article. When you watch that movie, like, you know what's going to happen, but you can't help but find yourself, and I'm not going to spoil the actual movie, even though we know the story of Dick Cheney to a degree, but you find yourself, like there's a scene in the movie, and this isn't spoiling anything, but there's, of course, a scene where he is approached about becoming the running mate for George W. Bush. And you couldn't help, or at least I couldn't help, even though obviously I know what happened, you know, that's we all know what happened. Dick Cheney went on to become vice president, but I couldn't help myself being like, don't do it! Don't do it! Say no! Hang out with your wife, enjoy your ranch, enjoy Wyoming, don't do it! You don't want to enter politics again, please say no! As if that would somehow change something. As if somehow, like, history would be different if in this movie, Dick Cheney didn't. Obviously, if Dick Cheney was never vice president, history would be a lot different. I mean, that guy caused a fuck ton of damage, and the movie does a really good job summarizing it. But I couldn't help. like, just please say no! That'll somehow change something, is if in this fictional recreation, or what's the proper term for it? It's like a... it's not a documentary. It's a biopic that takes some creative license. Anyway, I was still like I was like, say no, don't run. Let's try to fantasize a better world. All right, get into this article. So Christian Bale referred to McConnell and Cheney as charisma-free a-holes. Actor Christian Bale referred to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and former Vice President Dick Cheney as charisma-free assholes and invoked Satan while accepting a Golden Globe Award for his role as the former Vice President in Vice. Rumor has it Satan called Christian Bale and was like, dude, come on, I'm not that bad. That's a little much. I've inspired some good music. I've inspired some people that have had some good experiences on drugs. I get it. You're not a fan. No one's a fan. I take a bad rep, except for people in my church. They like me. Church of Satan people like Satan. By the way, what is Church of Satan based on? Ayn Rand. That's a fact. That is a fact. Ayn Rand. That's what Church of Satan is based on. Not even kidding. Thank you to that geezer over there, Adam, Bale said, as he drew the crowd's attention to the Vice writer and director Adam McKay. And he accepted an award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. All right, the interesting fact here, I don't know how that movie was either of those two things. It definitely had comical elements. I would not describe it as a comedy, nor would I describe it as a musical. Well, it's certainly not a musical. He said, I've got to find somebody who can be absolutely charisma-free and reviled by everybody, Bale quipped, and he went, it's got to be Bale in it. Nice. What do you think, Mitch McConnell next? All right. Thank you, Satan, for giving me inspiration on how to play this role. Good for Christian Bale. And, again, in my opinion, he did an amazing acting role. If you haven't seen Vice, I do recommend it. I tweeted about it. Most of the people that responded, they also really enjoyed it. A couple people didn't. And, again, my one criticism, I felt like it could have been a little shorter. But other than that, I thought they did a really, really good job with the movie. I would not describe it as a comedy, though. I left feeling incredibly depressed. But that's just me. And, I felt that way because of the topic matter. Not because of the film itself, but because of the topic matter in the film. But still, I still wouldn't describe it as a comedy. But what are you going to do? All right. Tim sends this in. Elizabeth Warren and the military-industrial complex. Warren's views on country in the crosshairs of the U.S. State Department largely conform to those of her colleagues on Capitol Hill. Iran is a bad actor. Russia and China are working to undermine the basic human rights we hold dear, and so on. So this is more surrounding Elizabeth Warren, who I think Elizabeth Warren really is doing the dance right now. And I think a lot of people, the verdict is still out on her. I've always kind of described her as that one, like she's that one person where you you want to think they're on your side, and then they'll do something that kind of hints that they are, and you're like, that's awesome. And then all of a sudden they, I support Medicare for all. Yes. I'm going to vote for the military budget. No. I'm not sure about Medicare for... Right, no, I did go... I'm for removing troops from Syria and Afghanistan. Yes! I'm waffling a little bit on Medicare for all. No! That's kind of the Elizabeth Warren. It's like one step up, one step back. You can do the Elizabeth Warren dance. Progressive, just kidding. Progressive, maybe not. Progressive, still deciding. Progressive, we'll look at the polls. Progressive, not sure. Progressive, maybe. I hope there's a gift made out of this later. Hopefully it's not unflattering. Yeah, get your news on with Ron. Get your news on with Ron. Get your news on. Get your news on. Get your news on with Ron. All right, back to the article. So Senator Elizabeth Warren is making strides to characterize her foreign policy vision as a progressive one after she announced she'd be forming an exploratory committee for a presidential run. Her record on issues in her association with war hawks contrasts sharply with her liberal rhetoric. Okay, so let's kind of... So she's a mixed bag. She has pushed back on U.S. support for the Saudi-led war on Yemen, but pushed for further U.S. military support for apartheid Israel and its war on Palestinian. Warren's views on the countries in the crosshairs of the U.S. State Department largely conform to those of her colleagues on Capitol Hill. We read this already. Iran's a bad actor. Russia and China working to undermine the basic human rights we hold dear. Following President Trump's detente with it's early, with North Korea at the summit in Singapore last year, Warren hastily issued a statement reducing the historical meeting to a photo op that doesn't change the fact that a nuclear-armed North Korea is a threat to the security of the United States, our allies, and the world. She has at times departed from the Beltway Consensus and issued anti-war votes, including against a bill that authorized Obama to train and arm so-called rebels in Syria in 2014. Warren's objections to war are typically procedural. Running for president requires a candidate to define their vision on a host of issues, and chief among them is foreign policy. So far, she hasn't made her views excessively clear, as many a savvy politician knows better than to do. So I think that's a pretty fair summary of some of the different positions she's taken. Some have been anti-war, some not so much. As far as all the 2020 frontrunners go so far, she is definitely among the better, I would say. She's better than Cory Booker, better than Kamala Harris, better than Biden. I mean, does that even need to be said? Biden. Which, by the way, he would hate this show. I'm a millennial. Joe Biden would hate this show. He would tell me to just go eat my avocado toast and shut the hell up. That's what Joe Biden would say to me. Joe Biden. So when it comes to war, Elizabeth Warren is definitely among the better in the 2020 nominees. I mean, basically her and Bernie are the only kind of beacons of light when it comes to pretty much all issues, but, when it comes to foreign policy too. And I think everyone's still kind of evolving on her. I mean, some people have their mind made up one way or another. Some people are sold on her. They say, yeah, she's a good progressive. She'd make a great president. Some people, she's a neo-lib. Don't be fooled. Again, I think she's doing this. She's doing this. It's the Elizabeth Warren. You could call this a disco dance, or if you're like me and you're gonna hold on to third wave as long as you can. This is the Elizabeth Warren skanking dance. And when I say skank, I'm referring to a type of dance associated with ska music. If you didn't know what that was, it's called skanking. And I used to do it when I was in high school. One time I was really drunk and I tried to show this girl what skanking was, and I almost fell into an empty pool. That wasn't fun. But yeah, she didn't know anything about ska music or anything like that, and I'm like, this will impress her. It didn't, but I was like, yeah, man, we go to shows and we skank. Let me show you how to do it. And I started doing it to no music, by the way, no music. I was just 15 and hammered, trying to impress this girl, going, and then the pool was there, like it was at someone's parents' house, and there was a pool there, and it was empty because it was the winter, and I almost slipped and fell into it. She's like, oh, this guy almost fell into a pool. I hope he's not drinking anymore, and I hope I never see him again. I don't know if she actually thought that. I'm assuming she did. We'll end it on there. That's Elizabeth Warren. Verdict's still out. Ron, still a geek in high school. That's one thing we have definitive. One thing we can say in the definitive. All right. By the way, since we have that moment where I'm transitioning into articles, shout out to our sponsors, ZT.com, ZHITEA.com, their T kind of rules, and microbinge.com. Looking for an alternative to Facebook? Check out Microbinge. Seriously, I'm on it. It's a pretty good platform, and it's growing. Microbinge.com. Get on board now. All right. Steve Scalise calls on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to stand up to her Twitter followers for sending inappropriate tweets. You expect her to police her Twitter followers. All right. Congressional members Steve Scalise and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez got into a bit of a Twitter debate this weekend over the latter's suggestion during a 60 Minutes interview in which she suggested a marginal tax income rate of 70% for anything over the first $10 million in a given year. The back and forth was a civil policy discussion until some of AOC's Twitter followers chimed in with remarkably inappropriate comments directed towards Scalise, who survived being shot. Some on Twitter who appeared sympathetic added Twitter comments that mocked Scalise's near-death experience, like, snipe his ass, and she's got better aim than the now-deceased shooter. So the Republican bowed out of the discourse and encouraged a House floor discussion with the New York Progressive. If somebody wants to have a debate about policy, that is what we're all about, Scalise said, adding, this is what the First Amendment is all about, but you shouldn't threaten people. If you have to threaten people to make your point, you have already lost. All right, so those tweets that they reference in the article, were those shitty tweets to send? Yeah. Steve Scalise is a terrible politician, but if you're going to debate the guy or if you're going to jump into a Twitter thread, you don't need to make comments about how he got shot. You really don't need to do that. On the same note, first of all, it's not AOC's job to police her Twitter followers or anybody's Twitter followers. She is responsible for one person on Twitter, herself. Just like Steve Scalise is responsible for one person on Twitter, himself. Another thing I'll add, I find it hard to believe that none of his supporters weren't saying shitty things about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I find that very, very hard to believe, considering that, you know, you see so many right-wing smears on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez that are just insulting and ageist and sexist and, you know, racist on a daily basis, to the point where they try to look at her dancing and having fun. How evangelical can you get? We've got her now. Here's her dancing and having fun. I always said I can never run for office. I can never do it because, again, bringing it back to Ron in high school, if they ever found that High School Musical footage of me, it's way too embarrassing. It's just way too embarrassing. She was a good day. She was talented. You guys have all seen the video by now. She's a talent. Me, not so much. If they were ever, if someone on the right was ever like, we got to smear this progressive Ron Placone, they're like, and they found high school footage of me in Oklahoma or Anything Goes or what other musicals did I did Footloose. Which they're trying to recreate. They're trying to recreate that now. They're trying to. It's the Kevin Bacon insult. That's what it was. What they did to AOC. But yeah, that footage of me, way too incriminating. If that ever surfaced, I don't know. I should probably just put it all out now. I have no desire to ever run for office though, so I don't need to worry. I always tell people, whenever people tell me I should run for office, which does happen, and I find it very flattering. But whenever people tell me, Ron, you should run for office, I'm like, look. Politics is a dirty, dirty game, and I prefer to stay in an industry that has a lot of integrity, you know, like show business. I prefer to stay there. All right, so anyway, that's my take on that. Let's move on. So here's something interesting. This is from 60 Minutes. This was in our Reddit. And it looks like we're on the brink of a very interesting new discovery, and we'll see how the world responds. The unlikely eccentric inventor turning inedible plant life into fuel. Fuel for what? Fuel for your vehicle. Marshall Madoff unveils to 60 Minutes his innovative method of turning plant life into fuel and other useful products. Now, I'm going to go through this. I took a quick peek at this. like right when it was sent. Someone put it in the Reddit, and when I clicked on it, I did kind of peruse it really quickly because it's a long interview, and we don't have, like, we're not going to be able to go through the whole thing. We're just going to kind of get like the summary of it. But I'm gonna address something, and I'm curious if you guys agree with this. The unlikely eccentric inventor turning inedible plant life into fuel. So this guy is named Marshall Madoff. You never know who's going to be the one with the big idea. History has shown it's not necessarily the person with the most impressive credentials. A breakthrough can come from the least expected. Perhaps even an 80-year-old eccentric from Massachusetts who toiled in isolation with no financial support for more than a decade. His focus, a challenge that has stumped scientists for many years. How to transform an edible plant life into environmentally friendly transportation fuels in a clean and cost-effective way. This unlikely inventor calls himself messianic, as in the Messiah. Sounds like a humble dude, and likes to say matter-of-factly that he is saving the world. I'll echo that first sentiment. Very humble dude. And that's what you think, says Leslie. Yes, says Marshall, I'm saving the world. Well, he apparently is able to use inedible plant life to create fuels for our vehicles. And there's a picture of him looking out at the water. I can't help but feel like there's a certain element here, like they're like, 60 minutes. Most inventors you'd think are rich scientists or people with all kinds of fancy gimmicks and gadgets. Turns out this old dude who doesn't like people and has no money invented something cool. Who'd have thought? Doesn't that blow your mind? Like there's a certain condescension in this article, I feel like. But then this dude's not necessarily humble, so, you know, whatever. Take it for what you will. It's just like, can you believe this old guy did something? Who'd have thought that would happen? Maybe I'm being a little hard on it, but I feel like there's a little bit of that going on. He just hangs out in Massachusetts by himself. You'd think he was like, I mean, don't you just think they feed ducks or something? But this dude's inventing shit. Whoa. Way to go, Einstein. I don't know. I'm embellishing at this point, but I think you guys get the idea. All right, let's go back to it. See what else they're talking about. Engineers yelled, yeah, see, there we go. They're like, well, most people are like at Stanford and MIT. This dude's just standing in front of a pond. Look at him. This dude, he's just in front. You think this guy would invent shit? Who would think that? He invented shit, though. Crazy. 60 minutes. It's this guy, huh? Check it out. All right, so he explains how he does this. So he knew that there's a lot of energy in plant life. It's in the form of sugar molecules that, once assessed, can be converted into transportation fuel. Now, the key word here is access. You have to be able to access it properly. And if I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because I don't. I mean, I understand the basis of this, but as far as what assessing it properly means, I have no freaking clue. That's why I didn't design this. This dude did. This dude in a pond, he knows how to assess the sugars to make your cargo vroom. Look at him. All right. This sugar is nearly impossible to extract cheaply and cleanly since it is locked tightly inside the plant's cellulose, the main part of the plant's cellular walls. What's so tantalizing is that sugar-rich cellulose is the most abundant biological material on Earth. It's everywhere. That's what Marshall's telling us. He's like, dude, it's everywhere, bro. I mean, there's just so much cellulose in the world, and nobody has managed to use any of it. So Marshall's going to try to use it. All right, so let's go see the summary of what exactly he did here. We don't have time. Oh, look at that. That's all right. That's really sad. I didn't see the head. That's just, so this person died. 26. That's way too young. It's kind of weird, man. You're just scrolling an article, and all of a sudden it's like just a person's face, just like big all up. And all right. By the way, I'm seeing all this for the first time. If anyone's not familiar with the concept of the show, and you're watching it like right, and you're like, what the hell is he doing? Premise of the show: I see all these articles for the first time, and we go through them together. We're basically getting our morning news, or afternoon news, or evening news as a group. All right. So is there enough energy biomass to supply enough of this ethanol and gasoline in the world? And they're saying it can make a significant dent. So transportation fuels that are clean, green, plastic that disintegrates, sugar that doesn't rot your teeth. It's hard to believe, but it all flowed from the mind of the most unlikely of amateur scientists, who was inspired not by any academic laboratory, but by his own musings at Walden Pond. That's got to be the thing they throw in last. They're like, once again, can you believe this is an old dude at a pond? I can't get over it. It's just an old dude at a pond. And he's like, I can break up sugars and it'll make your car go, and it doesn't destroy the environment, and it breaks our reliance on fossil fuels. But don't forget the real headline here. It's an old dude at a pond. The old dude at ponds. 60 Minutes. When we cover more old dudes at ponds doing cool shit, maybe we will. It doesn't matter. They might be able to change our entire world. Maybe that's why he was kind of like, yeah, I'm saving the world. Maybe because they were like, you're an old dude at a pond. What are your thoughts? And he's like, are you serious? That's your first question? Like, I'm like, you're an old dude at a pond and you're doing shit. That's crazy. Can you get over that? Do you know you're an old dude at a pond? Don't you want to talk? Our cars can run on sugar now because of me. If this spreads across the world, it'll break our dependence on fossil fuels. Old dude at a pond! And he's like, I want to end this interview now. Maybe that's how it happened, like, when it started. So he was just like, fuck you. I'm a freaking messiah. I'm saving the world. Fuck off. And then they printed that. They're like, edit the fuck off part. Oh, man. 60 Minutes. Old dudes at ponds doing shit. All right, so anyway, we'll see what happens there. I'd imagine it'll be a 60 Minutes segment where they point out multiple times he's an old dude staring at a pond, and then the oil and gas company will try to squash this as much as they can. But hey. All right. That was some good news, or potentially good news. So here's some bad news. Cory Booker's former classmate is ready to bet $10 million on the Jersey Senators' run for the White House. And, I said it's bad news through my perspective. I don't want to see Cory Booker run for president. And, maybe you do. I disagree with you if you do on that one. I don't think he'd be a good candidate. I don't think he'd be able to beat Trump. So I don't want to see him run for president. That's sort of how that works. If you don't like the current president, which I don't like Donald Trump. I don't want to see him get a second term. And I don't think Cory Booker would make a really good president. I don't think he's the president we need. We don't need an incremental president because there's nothing pragmatic about an incremental solution for a catastrophic problem. Anyway, Cory Booker's former classmate is ready to bet $10 million on the Jersey Senators' run for the White House. I don't have these kind of funds, but I would love to bet this former classmate $10 million that he freaking loses if he runs. A San Francisco lawyer, civil rights activist, and former Stanford University classmate of U.S. Senator Cory Booker, subtle reminder, it's a big club that none of us are in, is setting up a super political action committee and plans to raise at least $10 million to support the New Jersey Democrat if he runs for president. If not, they'll take that $10 million and have a hell of a bender. I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just... Steve Phillips, co-founder of the Power Pack Plus political committee. We're a Power Pack Plus. Aren't we new and hip, kids? What a goofy, dorky name. Power Pack Plus. What should we call it? Power Pack Plus. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 plus, power. All right, so anyway, this dumb political committee, they already helped him win his initial election to the Senate in 2013. They already got $4 million in pledges from Dream United, another cliche name, and said he expected to raise $10 million. I don't know what exactly Dream United does, so I'm just saying the name's kind of goofy. They want to raise $10 million by March 31st, the first campaign finance filing deadline for the 2020 presidential race. There is nobody who has a better chance of being the next president than Cory in terms of what the country needs. Really? Nobody, Phillips? Nobody? Nobody? Bernie Sanders, the most popular politician in the country, he doesn't have a better chance than Cory Booker. The guy who needs to make up crocodile tears because Trump calls the country a shithole to get press. That Cory Booker. The Cory Booker who knows how to behave when the cameras are on. and then knows how to vote the way the donors want him to when it comes down to it. That Cory Booker. The Cory Booker that you never really hear about much compared to Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris. And I'm just talking about as far as press attention goes. That Cory Booker. The Cory Booker that when he started doing videos with Andrew Gillum, Gillum's numbers went down significantly. That Cory Booker. Oh, by the way, Andrew Gillum, still rubbing elbows with a bunch of neo-libs, by the way. Still doing that. You'd think he would be like, oh, gee, whenever Hillary started helping me out, my numbers went down. And I'm not saying that's the sole cause for his loss. It's not. But I will say it did not help him. Anyway, that Cory Booker, that guy has the best chance. Booker has yet to decide whether to run for president in 2020. Don't do it. Senator Booker continues to weigh with his family and friends whether he should run for president, and any effort to draft him into the race is outside of his control and will not. Oh, they might want me to do it. Don't try to draft me. I got to come here on my own accord. Oh, I guess I'll begrudgingly enter the ring. Don't be fooled by any of that bullshit, by the way. Don't be fooled. But I don't know if I want to run for president. But people, I feel like I'm what the country needs. Don't be fooled by that from anybody. Not even Bernie. Not even Bernie. And that's not me criticizing any one person. That's just me being real about the type of person that'll run for an office like that. They have a little bit of narcissism going on. It's a requirement. It's a job requirement. You have to be a bit of a narcissist to run for president. I don't mean you're a flat-out narcissist. I don't mean that has to be the case. But you got to have a little bit of narcissism going on in there. And I'm not saying that's a terrible thing necessarily. It's just the truth. And I can put that back on myself because, yeah, to be a comedian, you have to have a tinge of narcissism. It's just true. It's just true. If somebody's like, have you ever met a comedian that has no narcissism at all in their veins? No, it doesn't exist. Why? Because our job requires walking up on a stage, taking out a microphone, having a spotlight on you, and being like, everybody in this fucking room needs to pay attention to me. Now. For the next hour. Or at least the next 30 minutes. Depending on how long your set is. But there's a little bit of narcissism that's got to happen in there. It's just the truth. So my point is, don't fall for, I don't know if they're twisting. Barack Obama really wanted to be president in 2008. Bernie Sanders really wants to be president. Elizabeth Warren really wants to be president. Cory Booker really wants to be president. I won't be influenced by any. Shut up. You're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling anybody. Would somebody in my industry do, I don't want to play Madison Square Garden, but people want to see me there. You never heard a comedian or a musician do that, have you? No, you haven't. Why? Because they're more honest actors than politicians. Generally speaking. I don't want to, Don't fall for that bullshit, especially not from somebody who's a snake in the grass like Cory Booker. All right. Now they're talking about super PACs. All right, so that's good. Cory Booker's already raising money. He's got some deep pockets, and I guess one of his college bros thinks he's actually going to do something. Here's where I wanted to go next. Plastic straw ban. Cigarette butts are the single greatest source of ocean trash. And this is going to be our last article for today because I want to talk to you guys about it a little bit. And we actually do have to end a few minutes early today because, guys, I'm kind of excited and I'm going to let you see me blush because I'm going to blush a little bit. I have a couple appointments earlier during the afternoon to look at wedding venues with my fiance. So I'm a little nervous, a little excited. But our first appointment is shortly after the stream, so I gotta bail out a little early. So I think, should I sport the Misfits t-shirt? Hold on to that question. We're gonna do this real quick, and that's gonna be one of the questions. Should I go to the wedding appointments wearing my Misfits t-shirt? I say, hey man, be you. I am gonna change my pants. I'm wearing sweatpants right now because you guys can't see the bottom half of me, so I don't really, usually I'm in like shorts or sweatpants. I am going to put on jeans, but should I rock the Misfits t-shirt? I'll leave it up to you guys. And we'll go to that question as soon as we go through this real quick. So, cigarette butts have long been the single most collected item on the world's beaches, with more than 60 million collected over 32 years. Environmentalists have taken aim at the target systematically, seeking to eliminate or rein in big sources of ocean pollution. First plastic bags, then eating utensils, and most recently drinking straws. By the way, once again, I know you've heard me say it before, metal straws frickin' rule. All right? Get some. They frickin' rule. They're just better. It's better for the environment, and it tastes so much better. You won't regret it. Get a metal straw. More than a dozen coastal cities prohibited plastic straws last year. California is one of them. But the number one man-made contaminant in the world's ocean is the small but ubiquitous cigarette butt. And that is mostly avoided regulation. So here's my question to you guys. In lieu of this new study, should we can't ban cigarettes, obviously. That's ridiculous, nor is that an appropriate response. I am a non-smoker myself, but if people want to smoke cigarettes, that's their choice. But should we have designated smoking areas at our public beaches? Should we have a certain area where you have to smoke, and then there's a place to deposit of your cigarette butts? I'm entertaining that from looking at this article. Now, keep in mind the fact that they're saying here. Here, let me go to the article real quick here. And then we're going to end on those questions. Cigarette butts, greatest source of ocean trash. 60 million collected over 32 years. Look at that. 60 million collected over 32 years. That's a lot. So would it be appropriate to combat this by saying there has to be a designated area with a receptacle? Every designated smoking area has to have a receptacle available, and people put their cigarette butts there. And of course, if you're caught, I think a lot of public beaches, if you're caught littering, there is a consequence. Like there's a fine if somebody catches you, but somebody needs to catch you. But what do you guys think? Now, I'll say this. I think something like that would be okay. I'd be in favor of it. I don't think that's infringing on anybody's right to smoke. If you want to smoke a cigarette, that's your business. But I don't think it's unfair to say in a public beach, because cigarette butts are such a problem, that at a public beach you have to go to a designated area for a number of reasons. First of all, it could hopefully reduce the amount of cigarette butts that pollute the oceans. And also, if you're in a crowded beach and people are all around you and you're smoking a cigarette, that can be kind of intrusive. Some people are allergic to that stuff. So, I respect somebody's right to smoke. However, they also need to respect other people's rights not to smoke. People's rights to not be inhaling cigarette smoke at a place like a public beach. Now, if you're in a bar that permits smoking, then you got to deal with it, because that's okay there. Some states have outlawed that. In fact, most have, but some don't. In some bars, they want people to be able to smoke there, so they make a conscious effort to make sure they adhere to the guidelines that still permit smoking there. So if you're at a place like that, that's where you're at. Like that's the place for it. So, you can't complain about cigarette smoke if you're at a bar that intentionally doesn't serve food so they can permit smoking, and they make the choice to still have smoking there because their clientele wants to smoke. But at a public beach, I feel like that's a different story. That's a public space. It's a nature space. I feel like people got to be respectful of each other in that regard. Similarly, how you can't, blast your music at full blast. That's kind of inconsiderate. Play it at a reasonable volume so you guys can hear it. So anyway, I would be in favor of something like that, having a designated area with receptacles, and maybe having some people kind of monitor it. Having some people like, hey, are you throwing your cigarette butt away? Maybe they comb the area, try to pick up some stuff. If somebody intentionally doesn't throw their cigarette butt in the proper receptacle, that's a fine. Just like littering's a fine. And then, of course, so do you guys think something like that would be the way to go? And, of course, the other question, do I wear the Misfits t-shirt to the appointment I have coming up? Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Chris says, when I was a kid and we went to Florida, they had a smoking plank area at one beach, and smoking wasn't allowed on the sand. That's pretty cool. I've never littered a cigarette butt at a beach. Good for you, Sheepless in Seattle. That's good. Catching litter bugs would be a better use of police time than busting people with weed or harassing people of color. Absolutely. No kidding. Not sure how much designated smoking area at the beach will help, but it's not a bad idea. I'd like to think it would help. I guess we don't know unless we try, but I hear you. Let's see. Nobody's weighing in on the T-shirt. Oh, Daniel did. Rock and roll it hard. Is there a way to make cigarettes environmentally safe? That's a fun question. I have no idea, though. That requires... I don't know. Student email says it's 2019 vape. All right. If you're worried about wearing a Misfits tee, you are hanging out with the wrong people. No, I mean, I don't know these people. I'm going to a meeting for a wedding venue. I don't know these people. Dayzilla says yes to the shirt. Hoot Hoot says yes to the shirt. Which, by the way, Hoot Hoot, you made me think of something. Tickets are now available for our Austin, Texas show. April 15th, we're in Austin, Texas at the Velveeta Room. I'm going to be posting that date as soon as this stream ends. So go to ronplacone.com for tickets to the Austin show. They are on sale now. 311 by design. She bought it for you to wear it. Very true. Balthazar says, wear the ABBA shirt. And said, Jordan says, do you really want to get married somewhere that is not down with the Misfits? Good point. Yeah, you guys convinced me. Long Beach. LA's a music town, Ron. Damn right. CryptoCam, can you guys come to my college? We would love to come to your college. Send me an email at ronplacone.com, and we'll see if we can make that happen. I haven't done a college in a little while. In fact, you know what? My last college, the last time I did college was Election Day 2016. I was up in Seattle at a college there. Yeah. The shirt shows you mean business. Horror business. Omar for the win. Omar for the win. Beautiful. Well said, Omar. You mean business, horror business. Too much horror business. Oh, guys, we are out of time because I do have to end early today. And, yeah. Marcia says, I highly recommend Here Comes the Guide. That has all kinds of information on venues and more. Thank you very much. I've been married 3 times, and I found it valuable. Thank you, Marcia. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I think we're using The Knot. Is that right? Yeah, The Knot. It's a thing. It's like an app thing. And Balthazar, yes, I do have to check on Streamlabs. Let me make sure I don't. Oh, and Natural Progressive, thank you very much for your Super Chat contribution. Did you see the New York City Yellow Vest protest pushing 5G, maybe pushing out municipal internet before it can happen, co-opting the movement to push telecom? A lot of stuff going on there. I have seen the Yellow Vest movement mention 5G. I haven't read into it. Maybe pushing out municipal internet before it can happen, co-opting the movement to push telecom. That's not a bad idea. I really want to get Muni broadband, and any and all allies we can have with that fight are huge. But the verdict's still out on 5G, on how safe it is. Although a lot of there was also some rumblings about how safe mesh networks are, and talking to Christopher Mitchell, who installs that stuff for a living, a lot of those concerns are overblown. It's actually no more dangerous than a cell phone tower or anything like that. But 5G, I've still heard some mixed things on that about the safety in regards to that, which is one of the reasons why I'm more of a Muni broadband guy. But I feel like we can kind of push one over to the other, but I'm still evolving on all of it. Guys, tour dates before I go. Austin, Texas. I'm going to post the link later today. We just got the ticket link for that. April 15th, Austin, Texas. Florida, I'm coming at you next week. Orlando, Jacksonville, Gainesville, Coral Gables. Not particularly in that order, but I'm coming to you next week, Wednesday through Saturday. Get your tickets now. I'll tell you this, Orlando is almost sold out. We only have a couple tickets left in Orlando. So grab them now. If you don't grab them in time, drive over to Jacksonville Saturday night. We still got plenty of tickets in Jacksonville, but Orlando is almost sold out. Guys, thank you for reminding me, Hoot Hoot. Nico House will be joining us in Coral Gables on January 10th. So Nico House is going to be part of that show. Tickets are still available for the January 10th show in Coral Gables. Tickets are still available for all of them, but the Orlando show going fast. Want to support this show on the sustainability end? Please do consider becoming a patron. I got a lot of goals coming up. I'm trying to, upgrade things. If you are able to support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider doing so. We've got a lot of advancements we're making in 2019, taking this show to the next level, getting a cause attached to this show, and trying to spread municipal internet all across the country. Not an easy feat. If you can support it on the sustainability end, much appreciated. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. Plus, you get all kinds of cool content, including my album. Guys, we're totally out of time. Thank you for an amazing stream. I am going to some wedding appointments wearing this t-shirt. I will see you tomorrow, and then tomorrow's going to be our last stream of the week because I'm going to be on the road the rest of the week. But Graham Elwood and I will be coming at you from the road. I'll probably be posting some stuff on the channel. Clips will be coming out on the channel. But tomorrow will be our last stream for the week because I'll be on the road. So, guys, thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you Tuesday. This has been Get Your News On with Ron. Peace.